My 28 male mom has 8 kids. I'm the 4th. She was a crap mom. She always seemed to hate me in particular. I think it's because I look exactly like my dad, not in a picture. Another thing that happened when I was 16, our house burned down. We had to move into a family friend's basement. My mom basically told me to get out and go find a place because it was too crowded here, even though she never said that to my 2 older sisters, who still lived with her. One was over 18. The next year, my mom got another house, and I moved back in. When I turned 18, she told me I had to pay rent. My older siblings were supposed to also, but she never enforced it. My second oldest sister is in her 30s now and still lives at home. She just sits on her phone all day. I never realized how messed up this was until I met my now wife and her parents. And while I know my mom tried her best as a single mom, she never tried her best with me. That's my therapist talking, LOL. Now my mom's trying to repair her relationship with me. She has skin cancer. She got it taken out, but the margins were positive or something. She's not dying tomorrow, but does need more surgery. She invites me for the holidays and calls every few months to rant about my other siblings. She called me last week and asked me to come over this weekend. I said I needed to ask my wife what days we were going to our parents' house. She said, "Why can't you set a date with me and then go to wife's parents' house on the opposite day?" I told her that I'll always prioritize my wife's parents, and they and my wife always get to pick the day. She acted sad. I said, "Sorry, I didn't mean it like that," but we both know I did. Now my youngest sister, who's her favorite, is scolding me. She told me mom called her crying. I said mom's an adult who can manage her feelings, and I'm not responsible for them. She even tried to call and tattle to my wife. Little did she know, if it were up to my wife, we wouldn't talk to any of them. My sister said that upsetting an older sick person can make them take a turn for the worse. And if anything happens to mom, it's on me. And I need to call her and tell her I love her. My wife says don't worry about it. Am I the idiot? Edit. My mom turned 60 last year. She's more physically fit than some of my siblings. I was 16 when our house burned down. My mom told me, get out and go find a place. She kicked you out as a minor? Oh, wow. Any parent looking for elder care should bank on the prospects that the care they'd receive is directly proportional to the care they gave their child growing up, i.e., a crap parent gets crappier care. You didn't go out of your way to upset your mother. You just didn't prioritize her, just as she never prioritized you. She's only salvaging her relationship now because she knows she'll probably die soon, and probably you're the kid with the best prospects. Your sister does not get to put this on you, and it's heinously toxic of her to try. Your sister needs to be told to screw off, pronto. You are not the idiot. I hate people like OP's mom, who must face death to decide to say sorry. Seriously, if my walking away didn't make you realize your screw up, why do you think I'd want to try and fix things with you now? Except she never said sorry, and instead is bringing the minions to guilt him and blame him for any health decline. He should tell mom, why should I make you a priority when you never made me one? Then cut them all off. Mom turned 60 last year. She's more physically fit than some of my siblings. LOL, she is so milking this. My grandma's 106 and doesn't carry on like this. Also, little bits of skin cancer are normal for that age group. Those guys are putting baby oil on their skin to tan in the summers back in the day. Bad parents often never realize the damage they do, nor that because they've decided to be better, that it means they're entitled to anything from the children they hurt. I'm glad your wife has your back. You found an actual caring family, even though it was later in life. Your mother's reaping what she's sown with you. You don't owe her anything. My husband, 66, and I, 65 female, are the parents of 2 beautiful children. Our daughter's 25, and our son is 21. Both of our children are adopted from foster care. Our daughter was 2 when she came into our home, and our son was 11 weeks old. As parents, my husband's and my main goal was to always make sure our children grew up into good people and felt loved and supported by us through all the stages of their lives. Our daughter's now married to a wonderful man, Taylor, and they just had their first child together. I had a run-in with my daughter's mother-in-law at the hospital when we visited. My daughter's mother-in-law and father-in-law have always struck me as somewhat arrogant, and my husband and I have both felt like they made jabs at the fact that my husband and I were older parents. Taylor's parents had them when they were 18, and their grandparents at 43 now. Apparently, this is something that makes them superior to my husband and me as grandparents, according to Taylor's mom. This all started when we were invited to meet the baby and see Taylor and our daughter. My husband and I first went to check on how our daughter was doing and if she needed anything. Taylor's parents went straight for the baby. When we were leaving, my husband went to use the restroom, and Taylor's mom followed me and suggested that I was some grandparent when I showed no enthusiasm to meet my grandson. I asked what she meant by that, and she said I ignored him for the first 10 minutes. I corrected her and said I didn't ignore my grandson. I checked on my baby first, because childbirth can be difficult. She asked how I would know that, and then said my age must make me less interested in grandbabies. I was shocked, as this was the most blatant insult she's directed my way. She then said that she and her husband would be the beloved grandparents because they're young enough to run around with our grandson and play with him without breaking a hip or destroying their backs. I told her she knew nothing about me to say this. She said clearly being old parents came with the disadvantage of being old grandparents and that it wouldn't be fun for a child. I told her I would rather be an older grandparent than to try to be a grandparent while still behaving like a child myself. She was furious, and I felt bad immediately because I only inflated the problem. My husband and I left, and he suggested we should speak to Taylor in case his mother twisted things. I didn't want to interrupt their first day as a family of 3, so I waited for a couple of days. At that point, Taylor knew something was up with his mom. We talked, and he told me not to worry about it. He apologized for his mom and asked if his parents had been like that with us previously. His mother, however, has said that I declared a grandparent war and that I'm looking down my nose at her for being a teenage mother. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And seriously, don't feel bad. She deserved way more than that. That audacity. Wow. But don't worry. You'll probably be the preferred grandparents if Taylor's a wonderful man, and I can only imagine your daughter is too. The kids are going to turn out good too. And kids can see through that kind of crap this lady's putting forward. Don't worry. I also love that you went to check on your daughter first. It's way too common that mothers are ignored, and only the baby gets the attention. What is wrong with that crazy woman? Congratulations on your new grandson, and well done for showing comfort and love to your daughter as a priority. You sound like a nice mom. Tell the mother-in-law to respect her elders, or you'll put her over your knee. Because, to be honest, she's acting like a spoiled kid. Grandparent war? Excuse me? How old are you? 65? Hardly 1 foot in the grave, are you? LOL. My parents, who are 65 and 73, are super involved with my 6-year-old. Bonus, they're retired and are able to have him over for sleepovers, etc. Of course, they're older, and looking after him takes up a lot of energy. But heck, I'm 40 myself and exhausted. You got this. I, 28 male, was adopted by my mother. She couldn't conceive a child after a hysterectomy due to a horrible accident. She's grieved her uterus and biological children, so it's not a subject we bring up. My fiancé is 27 weeks pregnant and has been diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum. We finally got a diagnosis after no one was listening, and we're trying to get her body back on track. But some things are just too much. We had my mother and father over yesterday night for dinner. My mother wanted to teach my fiancé to cook an authentic Italian meal. After many apologies, my fiancé said she couldn't take the smell and went upstairs. My mother's short-tempered. She's old-fashioned Italian and is very strict and judgmental. She began to go on and on about how you never treat a guest that way, especially an in-law, and how she had driven over 40 minutes to come do this. I tried to explain the situation, and she insisted my fiancé was just being overdramatic. So I said, "You wouldn't understand, Ma, because you've never been pregnant." My mom burst into tears and they left. My dad called me and said he agreed with me, but I needed to apologize because my mom had locked herself in the bedroom for the night, crying. I, of course, feel bad for my mom, but she doesn't understand. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Your mom was out of line and definitely needed to be set straight. You didn't just set her straight, though. You went for the jugular. Wow, dude. I'm not sure there's a greater weakness for women who want to conceive yet cannot. You say you feel bad, but I'm really not sure you feel bad enough. I don't even like my mother, and I still wouldn't say that to her. It's also a silly point. He himself can never be pregnant, yet he understands just fine. His mother was judgmental and rude, but not because she's never been pregnant. OP, you really thought it was a good idea to tell your mom you've never been pregnant, knowing what happened? Way to throw her hysterectomy in her face. You might as well have told her the accident that caused it was her fault too. He didn't just randomly go up to his mother and say it. His mother was being cruel to his pregnant wife. With some people like OP's mom, low blows are all they understand. Having thrown up repeatedly myself while pregnant, I can say it is cruel for the mother to try to make a pregnant person stay and endure these smells and then shame the woman for throwing up. His mother was entitled and cruel. This was a no-win situation, but OP's not the idiot. Two of my best friends, Chris and Matt, 23 and male, have been taking birthday trips together for years. They're both born in August, so they pick a weekend that works for everyone, and we all go on a small road trip vacation. They started this tradition a few years before I became really close with them. I started attending when they were 19 and I was 17, but to my knowledge, there were never any issues in the years before I started coming, and I know there haven't been any since. There's usually a group of 5 of us, with our friends Nathan and Nick also in attendance. Other people have joined, especially during Chris's college years, and it's always still been great. The two groups usually meld together seamlessly, leading to independent friendships outside of the group setting. My point is that it's always a great time, and there have never been any issues before, extra guest or not. This year, Matt's girlfriend attended. Things got off to a rocky start since she wanted to ride with him separately instead of carpooling the way we typically do. Matt and Chris in one car plus me, Nate and Nick in the other, or all riding together. We could tell this annoyed Matt. The drive there and back is usually the highlight of our trip, but he agreed. Throughout the 4 nights we were there, she was miserable for all of them. These trips are usually very unstructured. We hang out, walk to nearby shops, restaurants, roast s'mores in a fire pit on the beach, and she just seemed restless. She continually suggested we drive to a fancier restaurant for a birthday meal, and everyone kept politely sidestepping the topic. Chris would come to us angry every night because she would interrupt them, beg Matt for at least 30 minutes to come to bed with her at 11 p.m., and then eventually go to bed alone when he wouldn't. I guess it was because I was the only other woman there, but she began clinging to me on night 2. I played along and tried to get to know her, but it was mostly just her talking. She complained about Chris for a large portion of the time, saying he took up too much of Matt's time, etc. Now, I'm a girl's girl forever, but this is a woman I've known for mere days, compared to best friends I've known for years. Obviously, I tell the boys about this while we're out at a diner at 2 a.m. When we returned, girlfriend was fuming and claiming it was so unsafe that we left her at the house alone sleeping without telling her we were leaving. Matt was over it and asked her to leave, citing the things she had said about Chris and how angry she had been throughout the whole trip. She called me a pick-me and claimed I should know as a woman how unsafe it is to leave her alone and ask her to drive home at 2 a.m. in an area she doesn't know well. The friends I've told this to have all had mixed reactions. I'd like some outside perspective. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but it seems like some of the other people on this trip are. She sounds a bit annoying, yes, but it is weird for everyone to leave her alone without telling her they're leaving. It would rub me the wrong way if my partner and all his group of friends left me in an unfamiliar place alone. It doesn't help that Matt started the trip, letting his friends know he was annoyed he drove with her instead of with you and Chris. So from the get-go, she's being treated like she's disrupting. So regarding how she was treated, the group and Matt were all pretty mean and cold to her. They told her to leave at 2 a.m.? It's absurd in general. Compromising to leave in the morning makes more sense. Everyone's the idiot here, mostly Matt. The dude invited her, then didn't want to drive with her, and acted beleaguered that his girlfriend wanted to sleep with him. Anyway, I hope she and Matt break up, and she never has an experience like this again. Matt sounds like he isn't ready to date anyone if he treats his girlfriend like they're a hindrance when his friends are around. You are the idiot, OP. It's clear in this post that you don't like this woman. I mean, you think so little of her that you named like 4 people and couldn't even be bothered to give her a name. You made her an object of Matt. Whether you knew her for 5 seconds or 5 years, she talked to you because you're the only girl there and felt like maybe you could say something or help her out. Instead, you decided to be one of the boys and pick on her behind her back. Get over yourself. I have 3 kids, and my daughter, 27, hasn't had the best luck in her romantic life. She's been cheated on many times, and her previous relationship was unhealthy. I also believe she's in a toxic relationship with her current boyfriend. My nieces, nephews, and other kids are all happily married, some starting their own families. It was my sister's birthday recently, and she and her husband had planned the trip for the family. She helped with expenses if needed, but for the most part, everyone paid for themselves. My daughter was the only one going by herself. We did things as a family, but sometimes we split up to do something with just our parents. So sometimes my daughter was by herself, or basically being a third wheel. At the end of the trip, my daughter complained to me how she hated going on the trip. She felt it was a cruel joke that she was there alone and that the others should not have shown affection to their partners when she was around. This is not the first time she's complained about something like this. She's also done it after holidays and birthdays. I'll admit, I'm tired of my daughter complaining about this. So I told her that because her life isn't going well, doesn't mean others will stop living theirs. She hasn't talked to me since, and that was almost 2 weeks ago. My husband is on my side, but I'm worried I'll lose my daughter. Am I the idiot? Edit. She was allowed to bring a friend. My daughter isn't single. She has a boyfriend and says he's toxic. Everyone's the idiot here. I don't have a lot of sympathy for her demanding people not showing affection for each other in her presence, and a lot of what you're saying is valid. However, I don't understand how, on a family vacation, all the couples are going off and leaving her all on her own. That sounds wretched, and I can empathize with how sad it is to watch everyone else be stable and happy when that's not at all available to you. You could acknowledge the validity of her feelings while encouraging her to accept the rights of others to be happy. Exactly. This was a family trip, but they turned it into a couples trip and completely left the daughter singled out. And I promise, had she known they would make this a couples trip, she wouldn't have come. And instead of being sympathetic, or at least being nice about it, she just threw her daughter's issues right back in her face. So you are the idiot, OP. What has led to this pattern in her life of choosing cheaters and toxic relationships? My thoughts too. I can't help but read this as her reaching out to her mom, and her mother just gave her a high five and left her drowning. Personal experience has shown me a sadly high number of parents who take zero accountability for the adults their children become. We don't know these people, so I'm not doing a paint by number or anything. I just can't help but wonder.